Ladies and gentlemen, members and guests, welcome to 2019 kickoff for our Nerang RSL footy tipping competition. It's great to see so many of you down here tonight, and I do see a fair few women scattered in the crowd tonight, and I think that's because we've got one of the rugby league pretty boys down here, Stevie Martin. We'll be chatting with Steve very shortly, and realistically, when you look at these photos up here behind me with Steve, it was only 10 years ago that the bouncers stopped asking him for proof of age as he walked into some of the nightclubs. So I don't know how he went as a young fella, but we'll find that out a little bit later when we delve into his story. Don't forget the barbecue's up there, it's available, sausage sizzle, gold coin donation, or if you're one of the other guys, you know, a couple of silver coins. Just make sure you throw some money in, because all of that money goes towards helping men, women and children of rugby league in the local area and further abroad. What we try and do is look after those that do need help, and Nerang RSL members have been famous for doing that, and I think for the last 8 years now we've raised over $5,000 a year, so let's keep that going this year. You know, we're over 40 grand. I'm sure we can do it again. Well done, guys. Who's looking forward to the season? I hope you are, and I hope you've got your tips worked out, because you know, last weekend they might be trials, but geez, we had some upsets. The bloody Broncos. Shani, if you had been down at Seabus Stadium with me last Saturday night, after 15 minutes the Titans had the Broncos down 18-0. They were smashing them. No, because it was a trial, they dragged all their good players off, put the young kids out. They got done 25-22, but it was a good game, and I'm tipping the Titans just to squeeze into the 8 this year. So we'll find out next week how good the Titans go at our NRL Calcutta, which we have on next Monday night. So if you've been looking at your teams, I think if you're Roscoe, one game doesn't make a season, but if you're a Parramatta fan after winning the wooden spoon, picking up a win over Penrith last week, 20-0 in a trial, but one game doesn't make a season. Let's see how we go. You can't go past the Roosters. Gee, this stage is getting smaller. You can't go past the Roosters, you can't go past the Dragons. Let's see how Manly's going to go. Penrith, they've got their scandals on at the moment. There's another video come out today. You know, I reckon the NRL must be sponsored by Hollywood with all these videos coming out. But I think the only sort of movies these guys are going to end up in are the R-rated ones. So let's hope that they can curtail that, and we'll talk to Steve a little bit about the quality of where the game's going later. But ladies and gentlemen, with no further ado, let me invite to the stage one of the greats of the game. Played for the Riverina district, where he was spotted, signed by Manly, came to the North Shore, went to the beaches. He had the blonde hair in those days, it fitted in well. Probably never been on a board because he lived in Wagga Wagga. But got on the northern beaches, and that was just where he launched his career and went further afield. And we'll talk a little bit about the career and where it went, but played for Australia, New South Wales. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Mr. Steve Martin. And I do need to let you know, ladies and gentlemen, this is not Steve Martin that does the comedy shows, and he doesn't play the ukulele or the banjo either.
No.
But welcome, Steve.
Thank you.
This is luckily enough, this is the second time we've had you at the club. I think we haven't had a chat for over 5 years.
Yeah, it was some time ago.
the beauty of it is, as you're getting older, because I think you're now about 62, would that be right?
You got it. You got on the mark.
You start forgetting some of the things we talked about before, so we can bring them up again.
Probably.
Yeah.
I'd say so, yes.
Now, I was very amazed to find, as a kid, you were born in Wagga Wagga, down in the Riverina, which is these days, is a very strong AFL area. In your days as a young fellow, it was just as strong AFL and rugby league, but you started your career as an AFL player.
I actually did. I played for Wagga Tigers in rules, and so I played as much rules as league. But in saying that, we played with Kangaroo Panthers, which was the club in Wagga, and anyway, I ended up we took league more serious, and I only played a few seasons of AFL, and then I played right through school and represented, did all that sort of stuff through school, and then ended up going to Manly.
You'll find during the night, ladies and gentlemen, that Steve loves a joke and doesn't mind taking the piss out of himself on occasion. But you moved from AFL into rugby league. Was that because your mum took you to the doctor and realised you would never get any taller than 5'8"?
Probably. No, I was a rover in rules, but and then a halfback in league. But size, yeah, you're right. But I could kick a ball all right and played a fair bit of rules and that sort of stuff. So, league was the major sport. We, as I say, I started with both, but we went to league and just kicked through and played junior footy and did all that sort of stuff, and played at school and played in rep games and all that sort of stuff, and it was good.
Mate, I'm a very strong believer in rugby league that any player who has played either soccer, as we call it in Australia, or AFL, learn some skills that aren't taught to rugby league players, so they tend to have much better balance and the ability to kick off either foot. And how did you find that as a starter?
I agree with that. Any sort of sport, any sort of sport, if you go to something, you'll experience and pick up from what you did previously. So I think that's, I went to league and I picked up all those with Aussie rules, you say, and kicking the football, and I used to do that in league and kick the sidelines and all that sort of stuff, and penalties, and so obviously rules did help that without a doubt.
Now, growing up down in Wagga, obviously you've met some great people down there, but at a very young age you met your future wife.
I did, yeah.
How did that come about?
Well, that was through footy. Sue's dad, he's Phil Jackson, and I don't know whether we've got any pommies here tonight, but Phil actually played 30 tests for Great Britain in the 50s. And so I met Sue through footy, with Wagga Kangaroos, and but Phil had obviously a strong 30 tests for Great Britain. He'd done very well, and so that was just continued on from there,
How old were you when you met your future wife?
Oh, I'm not sure
as
now.
We mentioned Sue.
It's that long ago.
I'll give you a reminder. You were around about 16 or 17 at the time, and Sue was probably a budding 13, 14-year-old.
We were still at school.
Yeah. And what was it that that obviously, because you're still together and Sue is here with us tonight, what was that little bit of magic that you saw in Sue that sparked things off?
I don't know. I don't know. No idea.
She's all right.
No, I was going to say the opposite, but oh no, we got on, and I don't know. I can't tell you.
No, that's all right, because Sue was out at the coffee shop at the time when you answered that question, so she didn't hear that answer. So you're still going to be in the good books, but we will be introducing you to your family a little bit later too, as we get through our chat. But as you got into your rugby league, you started playing a little bit of representative football, and you ended up. You made the Riverina side, representative side, to play in the midweek cup.
Yep. I started footy when I was 5 or 6 years old, and even right through school, I was lucky enough to play for New South Wales. I toured Queensland in the under 16 or whatever it was weighted in those days. I actually played for New South Wales with a team that went to New Guinea. So I'd had, I was getting, playing in rep games when I was younger, very young all the way through. Then I actually started playing first grade with Wagga Kangaroos at 17. I was a year, they used to have under 18s, but I was playing first grade in 17. Then I played for Riverina, and Sue's father was actually coaching Riverina at that time.
That's not how you got the side, was it?
Probably a bit. But so I played for Riverina through there. I didn't play for country, which Sue's father coached that as well. Because then I went to Manly, at 18 and 19 years old.
And with the Manly signing, I think you were playing for Riverina in the 76 Amco Cup.
Yes.
And had an absolute blinder of a game, and then were noticed, and people have come and spoken to you and said, what they say from there?
Well, I was fronted by, well, in actual fact, the way it worked was they went through Sue's father, Phil, because of his background in footy, and then I was talking with Ken Arthurson. He came into the picture, and I signed a 12-month contract, and I went to Manly, and I played a half a season reserve grade, and I played 2 first grade games, and I got picked for New South Wales. Somebody I'm just trying to think of the halfback, got injured, and they picked me, and then Arco signed me to a 3-year deal straight away.
So your debut year with Manly.
First year, yep.
You've been selected for New South Wales.
Yep.
I think you played 5'8" for them that year.
Yep.
But also, come the end of that year, because Manly had a sensational year in 78.
Yeah.
I think you played in a grand final and then a replay.
Yeah, replay, yeah. Well, funnily enough, even a bit prior to the grand final, we had a draw in one of the semi-finals, and we had to replay it because they had to get it in the finals. We had to play a game on a Tuesday, and then the next game on the weekend as well. So we were all through that, and we won that, and there was about 7 or 8 players got picked on the Kangaroo to Manly players.
Because you finished that debut season, so you've come from Riverina, you've been in Sydney 5 minutes, and you've picked up the New South Wales Rugby League Rookie of the Year.
Yes, I got that year as well, yes.
So that's a huge
it was the next year was a bit tougher. You know, we had the Kangaroo Tour.
Yep.
Won the premiership, Rookie of the Year, the whole bit. And then your head gets a bit bigger than what it should have, probably. And second year pulled me back down to earth, and then I come back to where I should have been after that.
So after playing for New South Wales, you got selected on that Kangaroo Tour.
Yep.
First year in the New South Wales Rugby League.
Yep.
On the tour, you've played 11 matches and 1 test in France.
Yes.
Just thinking back to how good that trip was for you at your age at that time.
Yeah.
What were some of your experiences there?
Look, it was different then to what it is now. In those days, they were 3-month tours, and we used to play 3 games a week. So there was 26 players that were picked to go, and they needed every one of them, you know, because you're playing 3 games a week. There was Fulton was the 5'8", Tommy Rodriguez was half-back, and I was back up to them, and so it was a hell of an experience, without a doubt, you know, and it was 3 months away, and we're touring, and it doesn't happen today. You know, they'll have a tour and it'll go for 3 weeks, you know, and they'll play 1 game a week, sort of thing. But back in those days, it was, we had a good time, mind you. But it was a very, very good experience.
So a bit of sightseeing and cultural exchange.
Mate, we'd go to France, and we'd spend 2 or 3 weeks in France, as I say, playing 3 games a week. You go to the UK, you go to Scotland. You know, it was right through the UK.
And then, after your Kangaroo Tour, let's go to 1980. You're selected in the inaugural State of Origin, coming off the bench.
Yeah.
What was the feeling like in the camp when that inaugural State of Origin was on?
Well, we're in Queensland, aren't we?
Yeah, I know. But don't worry, half of us are Blues, so that's all right.
Look, it was a very interesting scenario. The first couple of State of Origin games, we had won the first 2 games under the previous rules and so forth. The first ever State of Origin game, we actually got belted, right? But in saying that, what happened, it was in 1980, what happened was the first 2 games were played, then they had a tour of New Zealand, which I went on in 1980. Then they came back from New Zealand, and then they trialled the first ever State of Origin. I'm going to say now, well, we were picked for Australia. Well, in my case, I was picked for Australia. We'd won the series. So the Australian team had been picked. We'd been to New Zealand, come back, played the first State of Origin game. It didn't matter. It didn't matter to the New South Wales. We'd won the series, but it made that much difference to Queensland. They took it that serious. It was berserk, and they come out and belted us, right? And that in the first couple of years, that's what happened, and then after that, it turned into the origin of what it is today.
As a Blues supporter, those first 3 or 4 years were tough.
Oh, mate, mate, they'd been belted. They hadn't won a series for 100 years, you know, and all the best players, which obviously, and in those days, the best competition or the best teams was in Sydney, and that was it. It wasn't in Queensland, so all the best Queensland players went to Sydney, and they were picked in, like Arthur Beetson and all those blokes. They were picked for New South Wales, and and that's what made Origin. Origin's just ridiculous, isn't it? Like, I mean, we used to play for about $300 or $400. Now they're earning $20,000 and $30,000 a game. You know, I never got any of that.
Don't worry, you did all right. There's a couple of units down at Broadbeach there. Got the name on it, but what the tax man doesn't know doesn't matter. Now, at the time, after that, you moved from Manly to Balmain. Who was the Manly coach at the time, and what was the predominant reason for your move?
Well, what happened was Frank Stanton was Manly's, and Frank Stanton played for Manly and coached Australia. He coached the Australian teams that I played in. He went to Balmain, and I was currently still at Manly, and he took me to Balmain, and that was the reason why I went over there, because you know, he was the, you know, I had a good association with him, and he was current Australian coach, and you know, I had a very good relationship with him.
So,
and still do now. He actually lives on the Gold Coast.
Because at the time there was rumour, innuendo, that it was because Manly were chopping and changing you from halfback to 5'8" to lock, and you were trying to cement that halfback position.
Well, there was Johnny Gibbs, right? Now he was a great player, Johnny Gibbs. I could play well. You know, and again, one of the things I had is I could play anywhere in the backs, and that's what helped me on being picked for tours and that sort of stuff. And I was on the bench for a number of tests, you know, but I wasn't recalled because I didn't need to be there. But Johnny Gibbs was like, I mean, he was a good player, and to fit him in, they used to play him at half, and I'd play 5'8". I'd play a fair bit of centre as well, and fullback. Played a fair bit of fullback as well.
How did your career go at Balmain? I believe your shoulders started to give you a bit of drama.
Sorry?
Shoulders?
Oh yeah, I was starting to. Yeah, I have had shoulder reconstruction. Balmain was actually, we actually did quite well there. There was people that came through that were, you know, the Wayne Pearces. There was a number of players, Kerry Hemsley. Yeah, there was a number of half a dozen players that came through. Frank Stanton bought a number of players there. We made semi-finals, which they were struggling to do that. So Balmain was good.
Actually, one of the players you just mentioned there, Kerry Hemsley. For those of you that may not remember him, or if you can't quite remember him, but you were around in those days, he had the biggest handlebar moustache and probably the second biggest mullet in rugby league history.
Yeah.
But he was a tough bugger. What was he like as a bloke? Because he was riding motorbikes and everything.
Mate, loved it.
Loved it.
Loved it. Mate, real good bloke. Champion bloke he was. He was, if you looked at him, he was a bikie, and he was a huge bloke, and he could handle himself. So he was out there. Oh, buckets they used to call him. Yeah, real good bloke.
Before we move on to your coaching career, as a player, who were some of your opposition players that, when you're taking the ball to the line as a halfback or a 5'8", you're thinking, I don't want to get hit by him, so I'm going to pass it now?
Mate, I was quite fortunate the years that I had, that I had a good pack around me, you know, like people like Terry Randall and Ian Thompson and Ian Martin and, you know, all those blokes. They could handle themselves and they were big blokes, and so I was behind all them. So I could do what I had to do, and you know. Look. Back in those days, it was the TV probably wasn't as dominant as what it is today, and referees using it. You know, there was more of this and more of that, and it's a whole different ballgame, you know, than what it is today. Because as soon as you do something now, you're penalised, you know. But that's what it was, and you know, there was plenty of tough players.
Well, another great player that you mentioned there, and I'm sure you enjoyed playing with him, was a bloke called Terry Randall. How good was it to have a man of his ability in the side?
Mate, Igor, they used to call him. Mate, he would be, if I had to pick the toughest players that I've ever played with or against, he'd be one, or the next one would be half his size. Would be Brendan Tudor. Who recalls him? Yeah, Kiwi, right? And he wasn't a big guy, right? Randall was twice his size, right? But Toots, mate, he'd kill you. He would kill you. Randall, same thing, but he was bigger and Toots was smaller. If you came into that category, but back then there was plenty of tough guys there, and it was elbows and knees and, you know, stiff arms and it's you know, there's just not the television that, you know, that's there now.
Well, if that's how it was in Australia, because after you finished at Balmain, you went over to England to play over there.
Yeah.
Now, all the vision that I've seen of England, it was there was twice as many elbows and knees and headbutts and kisses.
Yeah. Oh, look. I think the UK were better. Probably when Sue's old man was playing, they were a lot stronger back in those days, in the 50s and 60s, you know, early 70s. Once they got it, when I was there, they, you know, all the kangaroo tours we used to, you know, Australia win, we win fairly comfortably, yeah.
Now, how did you get into coaching to kick it off? After your career's finished, you've had a couple of shoulder reconstructions, and you thought, what am I going to do next?
Well, what I did is when I finished at Balmain, I went to the UK and I played a couple of seasons with Leeds, and I actually went to France and played for a captain coached a mob called Carcassonne, and it was in Paris. And then I came back to Australia, and then I just started coaching. And Frank Stanton, who I've got obviously a strong relationship with, he was coaching North Sydney, and I came back from the UK, and he put me on as second grade coach for North Sydney, and we had a heap of good kids there, and we actually won the second grade premiership, and we had people like Billy Moore, David Fairley, Jason Martin. There's 7 or 8 ended up real top line players at North, and then after Frank left, I took over first grade at North.
That was around about 1990 odd.
Yeah. Yep. We won the second grade premiership at North in 1989.
Yep.
And then I took over first grade.
And in 90, with the first grade side,
yep,
you got them into the semis.
Yeah. We well, it was funny. I had all those good kids, as I just said. That we had I probably bought 10 of those players that played reserve grade and put them in first grade, and got rid of a heap of most of the first grade, and that was there. And mate, Norse, we were very, very competitive. Billy Moore. Yeah, there was. Flo was at 5'8", right? And we had David Fairley, Billy Moore, Gary Larson, mate, great player, right? Who? Yeah.
Peter Jackson.
Yeah, we brought in Peter Jackson from Queensland, and mate, he brained it. Yeah, he was a great player, and he had a bad ending, but mate, he was a fantastic player.
With those guys, because they've ended up, most of them have ended up being representative players, state of origin, Australia, so forth.
Yeah.
How did you keep a culture going where they're enjoying their footy and wanting to play for you? Other than on the grog.
No, mate, hey, listen, we did that.
Yep.
Right? If you want to be, if I want to be straight down the line, right, you do it my way or piss off. Yep. End of story. And we were successful.
And that's something that has stuck with you in your coaching career?
Well, that's the way it was, yeah.
Yeah. Because after you, obviously the next season, your season with Norths, you got them into the semis.
Yeah.
You had 300,000 people that live in North Sydney thinking you were an absolute messiah. But that only lasted 12 months because they had a terrible year the next year. And you ended up resigning, and I think Peter Louis took over from you.
Yes, yeah. Well, Peter Louis was. Now, when we won the second grade premiership, right? Peter Louis was coaching Parramatta second grade, and with all those kids we bought, the Fairleys and Larsons and all them. When I went into first grade coach, I had a little bit of an association with Louis because of played in the grand final, and I got him to come and because we were on the same wavelength, and maybe he was good as gold. Yeah.
But with rugby league and a lot of sports, when one door closes, another one opens.
Yep.
So Norths have shown you the door. You said, yeah, I'm happy to go.
Yeah.
Featherston Rovers come knocking.
Yeah.
You pick up the family and over we go.
Yep.
How did that go over there?
Well, we did Featherston Rovers is on the north. Well, it's in the UK. I'd been there. I had an experience there. I'd played there, so I knew that a little bit. We did very well there. We were in second division at the time. We won the premiership, and that took us into first division. And mate, I had 3 years there, and it was fantastic.
We're going back about 30 years, aren't we?
Something like that.
And I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that Steve has still got the blazer that Featherston Rovers gave him, and it still fits him 30 years later. I think that's a credit to you.
I put on a bit of weight through there. Don't worry.
Doesn't help the bar takings any, but I think it's when Steve does wear it out, he wears it with pride, and it's a beautiful jacket. It's just getting very dated. But then you came back to Australia, and who's knocking on the door? Forget the Bears. Let's go across the bridge. Let's go to South.
Yeah. That
was looking good.
Yeah, look, I was at a point where, okay, what was I going to do? Where was I at in the career? Where was I at in my life and everything? And we were at a point where, okay, do we look for a business or something? The opportunity came around for South Sydney. It didn't work. I had running with
Julian.
Well, yeah, the missus.
Hi.
No, George Pickens.
Yeah, that's not my
Oh,
missus.
Mrs. Piggins.
Not my missus. Yeah. Well, George,
Should have bought her a
mate,
Chinese meal.
George, Nolene Piggins, yeah. Nolene, yeah. Look, she, well, and I may as well say, I've got nothing to hide or anything.
Nobody repeats anything they hear tonight anyway.
George was, he was the, you know, the front person up front, and he ran the show, and supposedly, but he didn't. His missus did. And I never got on with her one bit. And it was a bit of a struggle the first year, and it came to a point, and we both came to an agreement, so that's it. So I left. And we bought the management rights up here, and I went back to Sydney to coach because it was still lingering in my system. And that she got rid of it for me.
So for those of you that may remember, there was a huge blow up at the time with Julian O'Neill on a Triple A, with a pair of shoes in a cupboard.
Well, what happened was I got halfway through the season and I couldn't get what I wanted, so I started sacking people. Right? And Julian O'Neill was the first one, and there was 3 or 4 of them, and then then there came confrontation with the management.
Yep.
So I stuck on my dig and went from there.
As it worked out, Julian O'Neill stumbled quite a few times after that, so you were probably correct in your first decision. Yeah.
Well, there was no question, you know. Anybody who knows about football, he got himself into a heap of strife, didn't he, all the time? So he was a bit of a, what was that? A buffhead, or bogan or somebody.
Let's go back to your playing career, and obviously the pinnacle of every player is to play for their country, and for you to run on for a test.
Yep.
How did that fit in your overview?
Look, it was, you're 100%. That's the goal of of everybody who wants to play at any level, you know, or any sport. You want to be at the best, you know. I played since I was 5 years old, you know, and I played junior footy and rep footy and that sort of stuff, and. Yeah, he's making sure I've got a beer, I think. Good man. It's fantastic that I have achieved, you know, what I wanted to do, and it's all not roses, you know. You've got to go through the hard stuff and all that sort of stuff, and you got to do the tough times, and it's the ones that get through at the other end that get there. And it's a tough sport. I've got to say this. I'll give a hell of a lot of credit to Sue's father, because he had a lot to do with my career when younger. After that, Ken Arthurson. He, you know, even though I left Manly and went to Balmain and coached and all that, we still meet with Ken Arthurson all the time now. He's on the Gold Coast. Frank Stanton. You need those people to get through all. You know. Fortunately, I've had a pretty fair career.
Well, you've mentioned some of these people that have had a major influence on your career,
yes.
And obviously your father-in-law Phil Jackson, very big influence. Frank Stanton, also your own father Rod.
Yes.
He gave you the work ethic and the attitude, but also one of the South Sydney greats, Greg Hayward, was a major
big time
as well.
Big time.
Yeah.
I've got to say. You've got the right notes there.
Yeah. I got some pretend ones as well. Don't worry.
Mate, I'll go. My father, he's not here anymore. He's passed away. But his attitude, his ethics, his like he was a foreman at abattoirs, but he was old school, but the line was there, and you're that side or you're that side, and that's it. There was no questions asked. He was extremely, very dominant in how I operated. Greg Hayward, he's another one. Now, he coached me as a kid. Maybe not everybody knows him, but he played for South Sydney and played for Australia, and he went back to Wagga, and he coached me as a kid. And mate, he was fantastic. Yeah.
Let's go back to Wagga, because I found in my research that at your young age of 62, you're now in the museum. I thought you had to be a real oldie. Was. Oh, they kicked him out, have they? Oh. What, did they get a video scandal or something? And you've been, well, you were in the museum of the Riverina's Sporting Hall of Fame. Yeah.
Yeah, the council, it was some years ago now. Yeah, 96, yeah. They set up, it's amazing the amount of people, or sporting people, that have come from Wagga, and they set up this museum, and it's magnificent, actually. And I had to give them some jerseys and photos and all that sort of stuff. But from Wagga, you've got people like the Mortimers, in league. Greg Brentnell, he's another one. They've had a lot of Aussie rules. Yes, yeah. Jeff Lawson, I played footy with him as a kid. He was the Australian fast bowler for years. Played a little bit of cricket with him. I'm a bit of a cricketer. But look, there was that many sporting people that came out of Aussie rules people. I can't think of his name. What's his name? Yeah, Wayne Carey. But there's another guy too, I just can't think of his name. You've just got me there.
That's right, it'll come later. But I did look up some of your cricketing stats, and you were an excellent rugby league player.
Yeah.
But the one good thing about your rugby league local career was you played your entire local club career with the Kangaroo Panthers. And, at 18, you went into first grade playing against men, and in those days, you weren't protected. So you learned how to play, or you didn't stick around for long.
Yeah, exactly. I was fortunate that Kangaroos at that time, they were fairly strong, and they had good coaches, and at that time there was a guy by the name of Graham Kennedy, and he was
the comedian.
No, he was the head coach and captain coach. Was he a Kiwi, wasn't he? Yeah, he was a Kiwi, and he played for and he was a great coach. And again, Sue's father coached there as well. I went in there pretty early, yeah.
You also had a couple of years when you were back in Australia where you went up to West Tamworth.
Yes.
Took them on there with a lot of success.
Yes.
A couple of good photos.
Yeah, that was, West Tamworth were fantastic. It was, that was before I went to started coaching in Sydney. Trying to think how I got there, but we went up there. I had 3 years there, and we won 2 premierships, and we had some good kids there. Then I went to North Sydney after that.
I've seen a famous photo of you on the roof of a grandstand. How did that come about?
Yeah, that was at Tamworth, and the Leagues Club. They had the Leagues Club and the footy club right next to it, and I used to sit up on the roof of the Leagues Club and watch the game and comment. I used to have a mic or walkie-talkie and talk to people down next to the ground. Yeah.
And they're still doing that down at Burley now. Jimmy Lenahan sits up there for the ISC and yells abuse at the players, and before him it was Bramall or whatever his name was, and the club had to put him out there because his language was that bad while the game was going. They had to put him away from the rest of the crowd.
Yeah.
But in 1990, when you were back at North as a coach, you did get some good signings there. When you look at some of these blokes that you signed, Peter Jackson.
Yep.
I'll get you to talk about him in a minute.
Yep.
You signed Mario Fennick.
Yep. Muzza.
But you also signed Darryl Halligan.
Yep.
Who went on to be one of the greatest goal kickers in the code.
Brained it.
How did you find these guys and talk them into coming to Norths?
Well, I'll tell you what, the first thing that happened at North Sydney at that time was David Hill came into the club. Yeah. Probably people wouldn't know about him, but he was head of ABC in Australia. And he knew nothing about football, right? And I don't know why he ended up coming in there, but anyway, he came in and he took over the whole joint, right? The whole of North Sydney. He ran the footy club. And so I went in as head coach and he said, you run the show. He didn't know how to do it. He said, you're going to run it and we'll go from there. So I went out then and we signed Mario. We won the premiership and we brought all the good kids through, and then we brought Peter Jackson and Darryl Halligan. That was just there was a guy, I'm just trying to think of his name, there was a current New Zealand All Black that I tried to, what was his name? Yeah, Paul Simonson. I tried to, you got any union people? No? Paul, he was a current All Black. And I tried to sign, this David Hill said, get on a plane and go to New Zealand and sign the one. That's what he was like. He didn't mess around, he said, just do it. So I went over there and I couldn't sign him. He wouldn't sign. So I said, listen, there's another bloke here. And I rang him up. He said, sign him and bring him back. So, and it was Darryl Halligan. Halligan came back. He was top point scorer for many years. Yeah, and that's how we operated this David Hill. Like obviously, you know, you're going to make some errors, but money wasn't the issue. North Sydney had plenty of money, but the club wouldn't give it to the football club. And that was an issue because the manager of the Leagues Club actually ran it, and we all know that the football clubs actually run the Leagues Clubs, or the owners. Anyway, this David Hill turned the thing totally upside down. We won the second grade premiership, and we got all the young kids coming through, the Fairleys and Larsons and all those blokes. Then we bought the Peter Jacksons, the Mario Fennicks, the Darryl Halligans, you know. Who? Yeah, Les Kiss come across. Yeah. Well, I had a bit to do with. I actually played with him on the 70. What was that? The 80 tour, I think, off the top of my head. And we brought him over too, Les Kiss. Yeah.
And then outside of that, part of your rugby league career was also in '96 when you did come back to Australia. You picked up a job as the CEO of Brothers Rugby Union Club.
Yeah, that was a bit different, wasn't it?
That was before you went to South. What got you into the rah-rah side?
Oh, mate, we came back from overseas and we
needed a job.
Yeah, well, we were just working out what to do, and at that time Union was starting to become a bit more dominant. There was more players, you know, coming across, and I'm trying to think who we knew. We knew somebody in Union, and a job come up, and I thought, oh, well,
I had him.
yeah. And anyway, they put me on straight away, and yeah, Brothers Rugby Union.
Now let's look at rugby league today. It's a little bit different to what you played, and the game that you played was a lot different to what it was when your father played. So it evolves.
Yeah.
If you had the magic wand and could wave it, you've just taken over Todd Greenberg's job, Peter Beattie's job, you've got the whole ARLC. What would you do to the game to make it better, in your mind?
Okay. I'm fairly strongly opinionated here with this, right?
That means 50% of you are going to hate him in a minute.
Mate, the problem with the game today is they've taken the skill out of the game. Now, the way that it's for TV. They've dominated the game to sell, to make money through TV. Right? Now, what they've done now, they want to score at 30 points to 20 or 40 points to 30. They want points scored in the game so that people are going to buy Foxtel and whatever, right, to watch footy because this tries been scored and points have been scored. Right? Now, what that has actually done, back in our day, it used to be 5 metres, right? That meant that you had to, what they do today, all it is now is size, right? Go that way, don't pass it, right? And that's all the game is. So half the team can't play footy. Like there's no Arthur Beetsons, there's none of those players. So it's just bang, 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 kick, chase, field position, try get scored. Right? Back in the older days, yeah, it was 5 metres, which meant if you went forward and tried to do what you did today, the 5 metres is going to come up, they're not going to get over the advantage line. Right? So you can't play that way back then. So you had to play football in your own area, which meant that you had to pass it backwards and 3 and 4 wide to get a break and to make yardage. Right? So you had to have skill. Now, I don't believe all they are, and we've been through a period where the forwards are mainly, how many Kiwi forwards have you had in the last 10 years? They're 6 foot high, you know, massive builds, go that way. Don't pass it. And and I've been involved in that because I've coached through that, and that's what you have to do to win. Right? And because if you played football, if you kept passing the ball backwards in today's, you wouldn't get over the advantage line. Right? But in my point, that's killed the game, or the game that was back when we played. I don't know whether he's that good or bad.
So, Steve, do you think the reduction of the interchange will assist in any way?
There's the next one. there's the next one, right? So you got the pack, and they're as big as you can get, and not most of them aren't white because they're bigger, right? And you're going forward, right? Or go on, do your 10 minutes, get off, get the next one. Back in our day, there was 2 replacements, right? 2 replacements, you go on, you don't come off. Now, there's 4 replacements, 12 interchange. All that's doing is adhering to the game, go forward.
So you're saying that we need to have the attrition and the tiredness in the players to create space?
Because as soon as somebody comes up now, they couldn't play 80 minutes, the people today. You know? And the way they train, and that's the way they train. And it's just bang, 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 instead of using footy, using your, skill.
You've also spent part of your football career as a player or a player manager. It was a short stint there, and I don't know why you gave that away. I know you spent a lot of time with your sons and went in a different career path, but as a player manager, with the contracts that are getting signed these days, what do you see as some of the pitfalls that are available out there?
I did do a little bit of the player agent thing. It only lasted a couple of years. I sort of lost interest in it with. It just didn't suit what I was wanting to do, sort of thing. Players do need, a player manager, but it wasn't for me. I did it for 18 months or something, and and we had a few players, but I didn't go on with it.
Now, throughout your football career, in the 70s and the 80s, there was nowhere near the money that's going around today. And good luck to the guys who are making today, but how many players have you played with, mates and that you look at them now and they haven't got a cracker?
Well, back in my day, it was not the money. The money today, geez, I'd love to be playing today, but it's just ridiculous, But that's what television, and that's what television is, and sport, not only footy. So, what was the question again?
The guys you were playing with, some of them have gone on to be successful businessmen.
Yeah.
And others have frittered away what they've done through bad choice.
Yeah, look. That's across the board with anything, isn't it?
We spoke about Terry Randall earlier. One of the greatest players, one of the nicest gentlemen off the field you'd ever want to meet. Yeah. But got involved in some business decisions where a couple of times he's done a lot.
Well, Igor, and it's not just him, weren't the smartest people. Yeah, well, there's another one.
Ray Price.
Yep.
The list goes on.
Well, are they all forwards or not?
No, Wombat was fullback. So what we're getting at, ladies and gentlemen, what we're insinuating...
I better take that back, didn't I?
No, we're about to go here. This is good. So the little halfback, who whenever stinks on, gives the ball. I don't get any knocks in the head. Now, you did do something good with your money, and you invested wisely, and it's helped you get the standard of living that you have now. What did you do with your money?
I'll say this, and this is a major thing that's in my background, right? If I had to pay some credit, hit the nail on the head. Ken Arthurson. Arco, somebody say Arco? Yeah, mate. Ken Arthurson, to me, would be my next father, right? And I was a kid. Obviously, I was a kid when I went to Manly and didn't know anything, and he. As I say, I played two first grade games, played for New South Wales, then he signed me to to a 3-year deal. Then, like, I mean, he'd have been looking after himself too, don't worry, right? But he said, come in, sign a contract, go and see this bank. You got an appointment with that manager at that time. You got an appointment with that bloke. He'll tell you what to buy. Everything done. I bought a unit in Balgowlah for what we paid for it. It was ridiculous. $30,000. Like it'd be worth it'd be worth bloody $2 million or $3 million now. You know, it's being sold obviously, but Arco looked after people. You know, and it's funny, he's moved up here, I still ever see him and have a really good relationship with him. But if you're looked after, and I, you know, I was looked after, and he was like another father to you, you know.
And what did you invest in business up here on the coast to bring you and your family up here?
Well, after I'd been to England, done the coaching bit, been to playing and went to England and done that and did all the coaching, and still didn't quite have it out of my system. We've had management rights, which is Holiday Apartment Building. It's Surfers Paradise, and we've had that for over 20 years. And you know, that's you know, we've had to do the hard work, but we've been there, and we've sold out of there now.
So you just recently
just sold a month ago.
So you're semi-retired?
Well, I'm hoping. I'm trying to get there. I'm trying to get there. It's been hard work. We've sold the business probably 8 weeks ago, and we're going through still going through the settlements, and we still own a couple of units in there, which has made it a bit more difficult than what probably a better thing than a worse thing, but it's we're getting there.
Listen, nobody loves anything more than seeing somebody who's worked hard, invested, and has made that work and has succeeded out of it. So never be embarrassed of being successful. So we really do applaud you for that. And I know that came with a lot of sacrifice, not from you, but from your beautiful wife, Sue. So well done to the pair of you on the hard work and the success that you've achieved from it. And that has enabled you to set up a beautiful situation with both of your sons, Fraser and Jackson, to be able to chase some of their dreams. And ladies and gentlemen, just before we go on to this part of the evening, I'd love to introduce to you Steve's family, his beautiful wife Sue. Wave to everybody, Sue. Now, can I tell you how dumb Steve was as a young bloke? He went out with Sue for 17 years before he married her. Part of that was because Steve had grown up with her father, who was a rugby league player, and Steve was a rugby league player, and she said, "You blokes are just nothing but trouble." So it took him 17 years to finally get her across the line. So welcome, Sue. Lovely to see you. Fraser's just doing a runner on us. No, he's just down to the gents, but that's all right. It is also very special tonight that we have Steve's sister, Trisha. She's come all the way tonight from, is it Pennsylvania? Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen. When I brought the chicken wings out tonight, she said, "That's not how we do chicken wings." Anyway, that's what at Narangara Hill, that's what we can do. We give you 2 kilos for $11.50. And youngest son or oldest son? Jackson, the oldest son. Welcome, Jackson. I've been lucky enough when Jackson and Fraser were young boys and they played a little bit of footy. They had that long hair like their old man. I refereed them, and they were actually probably twice as cheeky as their old man, but a little bit better. But welcome along, and as soon as Fraser's been to the gents, Fraser is trying to Fraser is trying to crack the world surfing tour circuit. And his dad has been, obviously his dad signed him up as the manager so that he could get an earn out of it. But at the moment, Fraser is surfing in the World Qualifying Series, which, depending on how he goes in that, it's the World Professional Circuit is only the top 34 people in the world, ladies and gentlemen, and that's across the world. So it's exceptionally hard to crack it in there, and even when you do, it doesn't guarantee you're going to make any money for the first few years until you start becoming successful. So let's find out some of the things that Fraser has to do to try and be that sort of a professional. Put your hands together and please welcome Fraser Martin. Welcome, Fraser.
Hello.
Welcome to the Men of League. But before we get on to the surfing, what are some of your earlier memories of the old man and when he had the flowing locks and so forth in his footy career?
Well, as far as I can remember, was about South Sydney. I was about 2, I think. We were running around the house in with videos actually that Mum had. We were running around the house in South Sydney jerseys, me and my brother. But that was about it. That was about after his coaching career ended, and yeah, that wasn't on a very good ending, as you all heard. So that's why we ended up coming to the Gold Coast, and I've been brought up with a pretty good lifestyle on the beach with the management rights, and you know, I played footy for years, but I found more passion in the surfing and in the ocean. You know, before training and games, I'd be in the water surfing, and Dad'd be on the beach screaming at me, "Come in, come in. We've got to go to training," but I just didn't want to go. More love in the surfing I found, but there was no pressure. Never put any pressure on me to, you know, play football or anything. It was more in the club that I didn't really like other people saying, "Oh, that's so and so, that's so and so." But yeah, that was my earliest memories of.
So you don't get a Christmas card from Auntie Nolene from South?
I don't want to know her.
Yeah.
I don't want to know her.
And realistically, most of us would not have any idea as to what you need to do on a day-to-day basis to try and crack this professional surfing career that you want to go on. We just think, I would have thought, you hop on a board, you go out, you have a surf, you come back in, you have a milkshake and a feed, and that's about it. One of your mentors and your main coaches is the Horan brothers, Steve and 3-time Australian champion Shane Horan.
Yeah, world champion Shane Horan. He's a big inspiration on my life for sure. Actually, Mum used to tell me Shane met Dad. That's how Shane became my coach, was through the old man. Was they used to judge bikini contests back in the day when Dad was with when Dad was.
What, and you go pet job or what?
Yeah.
Actually, back in the day, that was pretty boy to pretty boy, and your dad was a little bit older than Shane.
But that's and he obviously lives on the coast now, so I obviously was surfing every day, and Dad thought, oh, well, let's sort of see what can happen. So I got a coach, which was Shane, obviously, and still my coach today, but. It's been a long time since I decided to actually take surfing as try and pursue it as a career, really, because I was at school, and then Dad wouldn't let me. I was kind of a bit angry at the time because I wanted to go surfing, obviously, and trying to do it. But you know what? I'll thank him every bit for it, and I realise now that he made me do an apprenticeship, and I'm really thankful that I've completed it took me 5 years actually to do a carpentry apprenticeship due to injuries. I had a shoulder injury.
Or is that because the surf was up at the time?
Yeah, that was actually from playing football,
Yeah.
believe it or not. So
Fraser, tell us, how does your week break down? Because for you to pursue this as a profession, it's not I'll go out on a Saturday and have a surf. You've got to do stuff every day.
Well, yeah. Well, as I said, like I couldn't do it. I couldn't try and surf professionally as to when I was doing an apprenticeship, because I was working 11, 12 hours a day, you know, just to finish that. And I thank him every bit for it, because now I have something to fall back on if I do get a serious injury or I don't make the cut. But now I've finished it. I started working at a bar at Northcliffe, down by where Mum and Dad own the management rights, and I was working there overnight.
Drop the name, the guys might come in and have a drink with you.
Yeah, come down, come on.
Whereabouts?
I actually don't work there anymore, I just left.
Oh, yeah. Obviously the surf is up at the moment.
Yeah, but you know, that's why I got that job at night, so I can surf and train every day. Like to be a professional surfer, it's a lot of commitment. It really is. It's minimum of 5 hours a day in the water every day. Like, there's a lot of training. You have to be so fit. It's a different type of fitness. It's not you go for a run and, you know, you get fit, you go to the gym. It's not like that, you know what I mean? I've seen triathlons come in to go surfing and they last 10 minutes in the surf. It's ridiculous. It's a different type of fitness. You use different muscles for different things, and it really wears you out. But as I'm saying, you know, it's once you start surfing, it's like a drug. You can't stop. So
where's the body strength that you need to build up? Is it core muscles, or is it legs, arms, shoulders?
You're standing up every day, so there's a lot in your legs. It's all through your core. There's a lot, and you know what? Another thing that really kind of frustrates me is people think that surfing is just, as you were saying, you go out and you catch a couple waves and that's it. It's not just your Joe Blow sport if you're good at surfing, you know what I mean? There is a competing side to it. So say if I was it's a game. It's not just as I said, your Joe Blow sport, go for a surf. There's a lot of tactics and strategy. Like, you have a 30-minute window to try and win on highest points. So you're trying to sell people on different waves, stop people from going, selling them on these ones, dragging them up the point, just not let them get that one. There's a lot of different strategies and tactic. It's a pretty tactical game. So
I'll just butt in. The biggest problem is in Fraser's situation or in surfing, is the top 10% of surfers in the world earn 100% of the money. And the situation here is that he's trying to go on and not only him, there's people obviously everywhere that are trying to get into that top 10%. They're earning nothing, or bugger all, or they've got to win comps to earn something, right? The top 10%, and they're earning all the money, and somebody's got to go in to crack it. And in his situation, well, I made sure he did his apprenticeship to make sure he had something to go back on. So then he's now in the position where he's trying to get into that top 10%, and that's because otherwise you're not earning anything. Again, the top ones are earning all the money.
Well, with the top ones, you know, the Fannings and the Parkinsons, you can't buy a brewery with nothing, can you? Or the Kelly Slaters, you can't build a surf farm for 30 minutes. Yeah, they're on the big bucks, and that comes for those that can crack that percentage.
Top 10%.
And in NRL, 1% make it, and it's probably only 1% in the surfing career that get a prolonged career. Now, it would be tough to, like, obviously you're living at home. Still down there to surf.
Yeah.
Do you have a sponsor, and what do they do to look after you?
I had I had a sponsor called Pain Pod that actually came on board. Another situation through the old boy that it's a little pod with these kind of little earphones that plug into these little pads that you put on your muscles, and they inject your muscles with oxygen. They pump your muscles, and they like rehabilitate injuries and get your blood flow going. And
I can understand that with your old man. He would have needed a lot of that, just to get the blood going each morning.
Yeah, his knees are going. He's crawling around now. No, but he was paying for all my contests because contest fees are really expensive. I also have a board sponsor. Boards are like $1,000 a board these days, which is absolutely absurd because it's a bit of foam and glass, but a lot of work goes into it. But they're giving me amazing support. I just jumped on board with them. They've got a new technology with it's called the injection tech, with different carbons, fibres that give off different like release jumps through your turns, and it's really amazing. So I really thank them for DMS surfboards, really good. But that's just free boards, so it really is tough to, you know, trying to support my own way to get to contests, you know, flights, accommodation and everything. It's tough to get to, you know, like it's like golf or tennis. You got to have money to try and do it. But once again, I'd really like to thank the parents for jumping on board for some of it. Well, most of it at the moment. But yeah, it's a good lifestyle. I can't complain, that's for sure.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Fraser Martin. And before we wrap it up, we're going to throw it open to the floor. If anybody's got any questions of Steve they'd like to ask. Steve, just before we do get them from the floor, because I know I've got a few blokes here that would ask this. The current off-season that the NRL has had has been absolutely diabolical. But at the same time, it's not even 1% of players that are doing the wrong thing. So when you look at it in that perspective, the game is still comfortable, but they can't keep going the way they're going. What do you think of some of this behaviour and so forth that's going on? What should we be doing with these guys?
Well, firstly I'll say the behaviour today compared to 20 years ago is 100% better today than what it was then, right? The issue is these things here crucify everything, right? So there's photos taken. It's like, I mean, unfortunately, it's just a fact of life that's how the thing works. And I could tell you things which happened years ago, which would be 10 times worse than what it is today. But you have to live in where you are, so they have to deal with it. Obviously, they need to educate the players better. You can't, like, I mean, the press get hold of something and blow it out of proportion, and you know we're getting all these things that are happening. But again, they're not acceptable, and they have to deal with it. I'm a little concerned that they're doing things now without a player being fully proven that he's guilty. They're suspending him and doing things like that. I think that's a little bit, you know, I don't agree with that. But it is something the players have to deal with, and it's something that the clubs have to deal with. and that's the way it is. So you got to. That's the way it is.